So step one, we're going to hit Shift A, search for Mesh and Icosphere. We'll give it 5 subdivisions, right click and shade smooth. This is just what we're going to be looking at our material on. Then we're going to get the camera, go to camera view. We're going to switch the focal length to something like a 102 or a 100, just so we get a zoomed in view of the mesh. Next, we're going to be going over to the rendered preview. And these are my EV settings right here. I just have it on ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. Then for the lighting, we're going to be using one of the built-in HDRIs just to view this. And because this is an indoor material, we're going to be switching to the indoor built-in HDRI. And currently, I'm on transparent background in the world. So if we turn it on, we can see that this is actually indoor. But I don't want to see that, so I'm going to lower the world opacity. Next, we'll head over to the shading workspace. I went ahead and set up my space like this, and then make sure we go over to rendered preview over here, and then go to the proper HDRI in here as well. Then we can just go to camera view, and we're ready to go. Then we'll go over here to the material tab with our icosphere selected and press new. We'll call this marble, and this is going to be used for countertops, something like that. Next up, we'll hit Shift A, search for a noise texture. And now we'll make sure we have the Node Wrangler add-on checked in our preferences, such as hit Edit Preferences, search for Node Wrangler, and make sure you have it checked right here. After that, you'll select the noise texture, press Ctrl T, and then instead of using generated into the vector, we'll move the object into the vector of the mapping node. Now we can Control Shift and left click on our noise texture to preview what is going on here. So what we're going to be making right here is the mask for the marble. And if you've looked at marble, there's sort of these gray streaks that go through it and stuff, things like that. So we're going to be creating that here. So on this noise texture, we're going to switch the scale to a 1.26, the detail to a 4.3, the roughness we're going to put to a 0.44, and the distortion we're going to put to a 0.62. And currently this is kind of hard to see what's going on here, and it's not at the shape we want, so we're going to use a color ramp to fix that problem. So we'll take the factor of the noise texture into the factor of the color ramp. And then we're going to take this black and we're going to put it directly in the middle at a 0.5. Then we're going to add a third node, switch it to all white, just like the other one. And we're going to put it on the other side. And now that we have our 3 nodes, we're going to bring them closer together like this. And we're actually going to want to take this black and we're going to want to up the value a little bit to a 0.2. Next, we're going to put these white nodes at a specific spot. So I'm going to put these at 0.525. And then I'll put the other one at 0.475 so that there's equal distance between them. And now we can see we sort of have that marble graininess that's sort of distorted going through it, but we still need some more stuff to the mask. So to do that, we're going to add another noise texture. So Shift A, search for a noise texture right here. And a cool trick with the Node Wrangler add-ons, you can hold Alt and right click and go from the mapping node to the noise texture node, and you don't have to connect it directly to the node, and it'll just connect it automatically. So that is something cool. Next on this noise texture, if we Control Shift left click to preview, and then we're going to be switching the scale on this guy to a 9.46, the detail to a 10, and the roughness we'll leave there, and the distortion we'll put at a 0.88. So now to further tweak this, as always, we'll add a color ramp. Put the factor of the noise texture into the color ramp. And then on this color ramp, we're going to be moving this black up to about a 2.2, something around there, like so. And then the white, we're going to be bringing in as well to about a 0.45. We'll just do it exactly, because why not? And this is going to be more of the mask that we are blending. So if we go ahead and mix these two together, we can hit Shift A, search for a mix RGB right here, and we can plug this into color 1 and this other one into color 2. Control Shift left click to preview. And we can see that it's sort of looking like this, and that's not exactly what we're going for here. So we're going to switch this mode to multiply. We're going to check the clamp, and then we're going to move it up to a 1. So this way we're getting the full effect of both of these. And nextly, we're going to be adding a little bit more to the mask, because currently all of the streaks are sort of the same color and distortion and everything. And not the same color, the same size and distortion. And so we just want to mix that up a little bit by adding a third level of the mask. So we'll hit Shift A, search for noise texture, connect the vectors, and then Shift A, grab ourselves a color ramp like this. And this color ramp is actually a duplicate of the previous one. So we'll just hit Shift D on this color ramp. So we'll take the factor of the noise texture and plug it in, Control-Shift left click. And now all we have to do is change the scale on this one to a 20, the detail to a 10, and then the distortion to a 0.88. So really we just changed the scale of this one to where it's a lot smaller, things like that. Then we're just gonna have to mix it in with everything else. So we'll select this multiply node, Shift D, and then we will drag the previous into here. So we have the mix node coming into here, and then this color ramp coming into here, and it's all multiplying together. And this is what it's looking like right now. And you can always play with the scale on these. You can up the scale, bring the white in further to decrease the amount of noise you have going in here and the grainy between everything if you want. But I prefer the more grainy marble mask in my experience. Now all we have to do is add in our color. So to do that, it's going to be really simple. We're going to get one noise texture up here, and then we're going to take the vector from this, plug it into the noise texture, and then we're going to Shift A and we're going to add two color ramps. So we're going to have this one and this one. We're going to use the same noise texture for both of them because it's just more efficient this way. But anyways, we're going to plug the factor of each noise texture into the color ramps individually. Then on this noise texture, we're going to be switching some of the values. So we'll move the scale to a 3, detail to a 16, and roughness to a 0.8. And if we Control-Shift left click to preview the noise texture, this is what it's looking like currently. And currently has a distortion of 0.8, which was a mistake. It was supposed to be the roughness to 0.8. There we go. Distortion is a 0 on this one. So then on the top color ramp, we just need our colors. So we Control-Shift left click to preview. This one is going to be the mask. So if we go back to preview the mask, the top color is going to be the streaks going through it and the dots going everywhere. And this color right here will be the color of the main marble. Anyways, for the color on this, we're going to change this black to a 0.025 on the value scale. So something like a darker gray. And then with this white one, we're just going to select the other one. And we're going to make it a slightly brighter color. So I'll move this up to something like a 0.1. And then we'll be good to go. Nice. So then on this other color ramp, we're going to be taking this black and we're going to be switching it to a very whitish color, sort of, but it's going to be not pure white because nothing is really pure white in the world normally. So we're going to take this hue and we're going to put it like a 0.64, so a slightly tinted blue. And then we're going to take the saturation, move it up to about a 0.1, nothing too high. And the value, we're going to move up really high to a 0.95-ish, about right here, like so. Then this other color, we're going to be doing something very similar, except it's going to be slightly darker. So the hue, about a 0.65-ish for blue, saturation to about a 0.13, something like that. And then the value, we're going to be moving down to about a 0.875, something like that. Just so that we get some slight variation in the color. It really looks like it's still one color, but there is some variation going on here. Then what we're going to do is we need to mix these together using the factor of our mask. So we get the mix RGB here, and we're going to plug in this mixer node right here into our factor. Just going to move this further down this way so everything's more linear. And then we're going to take this top color, plug it into color 1, and this bottom color, plug it into color 2. And if you Control-Shift left click to preview, we get this. And I'm going to go ahead and check clamp, just because some of you may be using the Filmic color wheel or whatever, and so it is useful for that. And so this is sort of what the color alone is looking like, and it's starting to look pretty good, in my opinion. Some of you may not like how much noise there is going on in between the streaks, and so, as always, you can lower that by moving these white node things in further like this, and then it gets sort of more spread out. So you can use whichever you prefer. I sort of like the noisiness in the marble, and so yeah. Anyways, depends on what kind of countertop you're going for, basically. Or, well, this doesn't have to be used for a countertop, but that's what most people would probably use it for. Anyways, now that we have this done, we can plug this color into the base color, like this. And if we preview the shader, we can see the color is looking like this with a 0.5 roughness everywhere. And so, yeah. Anyways, the next step is going to be the roughness. And to do that, it's not too difficult. So I'll just hit Shift A, search for a color ramp like this, And for the roughness on this guy, we're going to be using the noise texture way up here. So if we control shift left click on this color ramp, it's going to be looking the exact same right now. And to fix that, we're going to be switching this guy to a 0.4 on the value scale. Actually, let's switch it to a 0.2 on the value scale. So basically, a marble countertop is pretty reflective. It's not very rough. And so that's the reason why we're having these darker colors, is because it means it's going to go from 0 roughness to 0.2 roughness, which is not very much. So we'll take this color and plug it into our roughness, control shift left click and view the shader. As we can see, it's sort of reflecting. It's not going to give you a solid image of the reflections, but as a countertop, a marble countertop, it is pretty reflective. And so the next step normally at this point would be to add a normal map for this. But if you notice on most marble countertops, it's not really bumpy because they put like a clear coat on top of it and it's very smooth. So the only bump I would add to this is if you're putting like dust on it or surface imperfections. But without any of those surface imperfections, I wouldn't be adding any bump to this countertop marble material because it's not really bumpy. It's like perfectly smooth. And so if you're going to add a bump, it would have to be something super subtle. And so you could do that, but for the final product, I didn't add any bump and it's looking as it should, in my opinion. Especially if you put it on a countertop in a kitchen, it is reflecting light quite properly. Anyways, this is a pretty bright room, I'll be honest. So if we can lower the strength of this to like a 0.5, and this is sort of like just, because look, in this room, we have light coming in from this window, a ton of it. We have this window, this light, etc. So if you're wondering why it's so reflective, and it looks way more reflective than marble in your kitchen would, it's because this room is like way brighter than most rooms. Anyways, but you can still see the reflections coming in even when you lower the darkness, the strength of the light in the room. When you up it, you can see that it sort of reflects how the afternoon sun comes in. But yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.